Okay, let's make sure we're live. It says preparing. And then I got to remember to close it because it's going to give me like double feedback. Done.
Okay, and then just make sure you have it on your phone so you can see comments.
Hi, everybody. Bear with me. Bear with us. Just, we're going to start today's proverbial mastermind. I know it's going to come back to this topic about stop circling the mountain, but Sherry, tell us how you're feeling about this new Facebook layout because I'm going to tell you I don't like it.
Okay, so I can't stand it. And so like when I'm on my laptop, I go back to the old version and they're like, tell us why you're going back to the old version. And I'm like, I don't have time to tell you why. I'm right, because this sucks because I can't find anything. You can't even find on your business page anymore. You can't even find the place like where it used to have like community to invite people, like as you're making new friends to invite people to like your page. Like Facebook wants to make it as hard as possible for people to like your page. Thank you, Facebook. That's why we're on YouTube.
And I don't even know why they ask us to tell them why we don't like it because they don't care.
They don't care.
Who cares? Why are you asking me?
It's going to go in some big computer somewhere that nobody's ever going to look at
it
again.
Nowhere ever. Which is why, by the way, I'll just say, and this
cheers
is what,
to that. Cheers to YouTube.
Cheers. That's why one of the mentors that I work with says, like, you need to have more than Facebook. Like, do you have an email list? Because God forbid, like Zuckerberg wakes up and is like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. And then it's gone. Like, how do you communicate with your people?
I know. Well, so I have, I communicate through text.
Yeah.
So I have a texting community. That's how I keep in touch with people. And it's a very small community. It's certainly not as big as my Facebook or my Instagram following or anything like that. But, it is a way for me to directly connect with them as an alternative, should Facebook and Instagram hand in hand, mind you, right?
Of course, because they are.
Go the way of the dodo bird.
Totally. So,
but yeah, welcome. No, I don't. Yeah. Welcome everyone to the Proverbial Masterminds. I'm Dr. Sherry, and this is my beautiful friend, Erin Harrigan.
And so this is, part of what we do because we're masterminds is we get to share this frustration so we can work through it. And, usually somewhere in a mastermind is someone with, I mean, we have wisdom, but sometimes in a mastermind, somebody shares the wisdom with you and you're like, oh yes, I can see a different perspective on that. And I'm just going to say I don't have a different perspective on this Facebook thing because they keep changing stuff and it drives me insane.
No. So here's the newest thing. I just did a live on my personal page to kind of like, do a little sneak peek, come on over, check us out. Right. And it's like, do you want to choose to have this, hold it for 30 days and then it will delete after 30 days? Or do you want it to, like, can you just not ask me that?
Yeah.
Can you just not bother me with this petty stuff, Facebook? Because we are masterminds. I mean, we're like solving the world's problems.
We are solving. Yes, we are.
I don't need to make a decision about when it's going to be deleted.
No.
Sorry. You got something to say today.
So I do have some things to say today. So I just want to remind everybody. So proverbial masterminds. Yes, it is proverbial because we're studying Proverbs. We've been in Proverbs 2, which is all about like, here's what wisdom does for you. And here's what it keeps you from. And here's what it protects you from. And the challenge is, of course, we have free will. So like we can have all the wisdom, but we get to choose to use it.
Yeah.
So we've been in Proverbs 2. And what I wanted to talk about today is a couple of things. And there isn't going to be a specific Proverbs 2 verse that relates to this, but here's what I want to kind of summarize.
So wait a second. Does this relate to Proverbs?
It does. It does because it's all about the wisdom. Because here's the thing is that God can give us all the wisdom, right? But we have to be willing to not just take it in, but to act on it. And very often, and I've heard my pastor say this at Chesapeake Church in Huntingtown, Maryland, Pastor Robert Hahn.
Shout out.
But I'm going to totally paraphrase it. So it's going to be whatever. We spend a lot of time taking in information and then maybe we act on it, maybe we don't. And then we're like, well, Lord, why hasn't this happened? Or why hasn't this shown up? Or why haven't I hit this or whatever? And his question that he raised, it's been months ago, but that came up for me this week was like, have you done the last thing that God told you to do?
What's the
Like,
last thing God told you to do? Are you going to share that with us, or is
I
that going to
am.
remain a mystery?
I'm going to in a minute. Um,
Mm.
what is the last thing that God told you to do? Or what is the last thing that you should have trusted him around, but you didn't,
Okay.
right? And um, all of these things in Proverbs 2, it's talking about all the things that, having wisdom protects you from or shields you from or all of these things. And
Yeah. Can I give a shout out
often,
to a verse real
yeah,
quick?
do it.
Yeah. So just this week, we've been talking about, we're in Proverbs chapter 2, by the way. We've been reading a verse a day. So just the last week, you could look at Proverbs 2, verses 9 through 15, just say, since our last episode. But talking about wisdom, when you get it, he guards the path of justice. You'll understand righteousness and justice. You'll understand equity and every good path. So when you're asking, just to piggyback on what you were saying, when you're asking for wisdom, you're going to get what's right, what's just, what's equal, and you're going to know and be aware of every good path. So is what you're speaking of, okay, I see the good path, but I'm not going to choose that one?
Right.
Okay.
Or, oh, I know you showed me that good path, but what if it leads me where in a different direction than I wanted to go?
What if
Or
my
what
path
if it
is
doesn't?
better?
What if my path is better? Like, or yeah, but that path is rocky, Lord. That path is
Mhm,
rocky. And
mhm,
it has some like adventurous climbs in it. And
mhm,
I just want a really smooth path, right?
mhm.
And it reminds me of in Deuteronomy, which I posted about today.
Oh, okay.
Um, in Deuteronomy, this was my Friday blog. I think it was today,
What do you
where
do, like a blog post every Friday?
I do. I do a blog post every
How
Friday.
do I
And
not
here's
know
what it
this? Does
is.
it come through email? Sorry. I know I'm like
No,
totally
no.
sidelining you, but
It
okay.
comes, it's on Instagram. It's on my Instagram and it's on
Oh,
my Hustle
okay.
Heart Coach page. But it's Deuteronomy 1:6. The Lord our God said to us at Horeb, "You have stayed long enough at this mountain." So it's
Mm,
like God is giving you the wisdom and all the things that you just said, right? Righteousness,
mhm.
justice,
Equity,
what is
every
equity,
good
and then the
path.
good path. And then yet
Mhm.
we're still circling this mountain. And I'm pretty sure that, like the Israelites, this could be a 2 day, like theirs is an 11 day. It should have taken them 11 days, but it took them 40 years because,
Yeah.
right? Because they chose not to do the thing that God had told them to do. So
Mhm.
he's giving them wisdom. Moses is giving them wisdom. God is giving us wisdom. But what is that thing that we still aren't doing? And why do we keep
Mhm.
circling the mountain in
Mhm.
frustration when we don't have to?
Mhm.
Because he's given us the wisdom. And I think the other piece of it, Sherry, and then I'm going to shut up, is
No,
not just that
please.
it's that we don't have all the answers. So like he gives us that wisdom,
Mhm.
but we still don't have all the answers. We still don't know the whole picture, right? So
Yeah.
we're like, oh well, I don't know how this is going to end up. Like, and it's a trust factor that, and we're not
Yeah.
trusting because we think, oh, I got to see the whole 15 miles
Yeah.
when you only have
Well,
to see as far as your headlights will take you, 200 feet.
yeah, okay. And in our pinch me, I have flesh, right? In our human existence, our thinking is not like God's thinking, and it's
No.
really that's a path of mastery to learn to listen to that voice. It's funny that you're talking about like how long are you going to circle the mountain, because, and I'm wondering if this has something to do with like personality type. So you're familiar with the disc and all of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, right? I mean, there's a gazillion personality tests out there. But like I'm a high D. I'm
Yeah.
like, when I get the idea, like God could come and speak in a booming voice in a dream, and the next morning I'm on it. But then the next morning I'm on to something else. And then the next morning I'm
Right.
on to something else. And
Right.
for me, this is interesting that the lesson that I'm learning, and I wonder if this would be different for somebody who's an S, for example, who's, taking their time, circling the mountain, and I just want to get it done. Just want to go, go,
Right.
go.
Right.
That I have been getting the message of letting stuff incubate.
Ooh. So you're good at
Yeah.
starting things. You're
Oh,
a good
yeah.
starter.
I'm a great starter. I'm a great
Right.
iterator. Like I've got ideas for days. If ideas were dollars,
You'd be.
the richest
Yeah.
person on earth.
Right. But it's the pull through.
Well, it's the let's go deeper into that because this is a really good idea and it's not this is a really good idea. I want you to hold off on the other ideas. This is a really good idea. I want you to develop it. I want you to go deeper. I want you to peel back the layers of it. And my high D says, no, I just want to go on to the next one. That was great. I said what I had to say, but I feel like God is asking me to be in an incubator with my ideas as
Ooh,
opposed.
yes.
Yeah. So that's a really hard
Marinate.
lesson for me.
Marinate in it.
I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, and the challenge with that, right, is that, but if I go deeper, what if I find something I don't like? Or what if it doesn't match what I want? Or what if it's not what I thought it would be?
Mhm.
But
Like-
clearly he's given it to us for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm
But-
hearing you.
It's every good path. And here's the other thing that wisdom does is I was looking at the verse from verses 11 and 12 in chapter 2. Discretion will preserve you. I love this verse because for myself included, because I'm a high D, so I break stuff a lot, right? Because just do it.
'Cause you
Like
just
I'll
do.
figure it out later. Like if it's the wrong thing, I'll send it back. But I gotta I don't have time to research. Like that's just not me. Like get it done.
Right.
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 Like right now, here's the get it done. Here's what's happening. I should show you. So remember last time I had this issue of sunlight coming in through the window?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I don't have curtain rods or anything because this is a sunroom and it's my office and I like the sunroom.
Right.
But for whatever reason, it's been cloudy today. And as soon as it was getting ready to be time to start the proverbial masterminds, guess what happened? The sun came out and it was blinding me through this side. So I have a black tablecloth pinned up to the window with yellow duct tape. I do.
You a Steelers fan?
No, I'm not.
Well, you got the black and yellow, black and yellow.
Black
going
and
on.
yellow. Right. Okay. Yeah. But yellow is a happy color. But anyway, my point is so one corner already fell because I was like, just get it done.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So God is saying incubate. This is what he's saying to me. What's a different way to block that sunlight that's going to be more
Love it.
lasting, that's going to be deeper? I totally did not intend to tell you about my yellow
I
duct
love
tape.
that. So I'm just looking up DISC. So for those of you who aren't familiar with DISC, DISC, D. So D is dominance, I is influence, S is steadiness, and C is conscientiousness.
Mhm.
So like dominant, like D is also driving, like just get it done.
Right.
Right. And so it's like now he's calling you to be S.
And it is so uncomfortable for me.
So hard.
Mm-mm.
Yes.
But because that's the wisdom I'm getting, and in verse 11 says, discretion will preserve you, understanding will keep you. So even in that discomfort, the wisdom, the
Yep.
discretion, the understanding, it's going to keep me.
It is. Right. Right. It also reminds me, hang on, because I saw this morning on Instagram that TD Jakes posted.
I'm
Hold
not
on.
very active on Instagram. I wonder if I should be more active like you are. What's the
Bishop
wisdom
Jakes.
there? Tell me. Tell me,
Uh,
oh, Instagram guru.
Hold on. Being in the will of God will make you uncomfortable. Anything that's good for you, anything that grows you won't be a walk in the park.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
No
Yeah.
doubt.
So first of all, I'm not an Instagram guru, and I'm just gonna say,
Are you on it every day? Because I'm not.
well, I am on it every day, but I only post twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
Something during the day, whatever
Mhm.
that is. And then at night, I post my Hustle with Heart nightcap, which is just to give people the chance to go before they go to bed and remember, like, this is what it means to hustle with heart before you go to bed while all the, thoughts are swirling.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. But what I will also tell you is that, sorry, I had to change that. I am not a fan of, like, I'll use the stories and I'll post,
Yeah.
But I'm not doing the reels thing. Like there's this
Yeah.
whole reels thing, which is like whatever, but I'm not doing
Yeah, I
that.
saw some people doing that. I mean, I guess it could be fun if you're whatever, but
Anyway.
Yeah.
No judgment. No judgment. But just pointing out that what's fascinating about that and what I said earlier is like here, here's God like stop circling the mountain. But I think sometimes what he's doing to us, like you're describing, is like, I need you to slow down on this walk around this mountain. I need you to marinate in this thing that I gave you before you start moving on to the next thing.
So yeah, and here's why. And this, I know this is going to get kind of businessy, but it's also not. It's just, we talked about service last time. I said serve harder, not work harder, but serve harder and give harder. But that doesn't always mean harder, doesn't mean more. It could mean the second duct tape just fell.
You got to let it go.
Wait, I'm sorry. Okay. So where was I to remind? Businessy.
Yes.
So if I'm diving deeper, if I'm actually supposed to be staying on that mountain longer, like one of the pieces of wisdom that I've been asking God for is specifically about my podcast for season 4, because season 3 ends this year in just a couple weeks. And then season 4 launches in January. And I know I have the theme. God gave me the theme for it. It's Thriving Alone. And so I'll be interviewing people who have been or have felt alone in various experiences in their life and how they've chosen to grow through that. Right. So I know what the theme is. I'm good with that. I feel at peace with that. That's the other thing. I think sometimes that that's the indication. Sometimes we're waiting for the blinding revelation that that's the right thing to do. But if we just feel at peace about it, I think that's like,
for sure.
That's your indication.
100%.
Anyway, the opportunity to incubate, to marinate, to stay on that mountain, to stay on that thought of digging deeper into my podcast allows me to do 2 things. One, determine how I'm going to add even more value to my listeners. Right. And 2, how am I going to exceed what they already expect of me? So how am I going to grow through that? So right. So adding value and exceeding expectations. I can't do that if I high diet all of my life.
True.
I got to go deeper. I got to stay on the mountain. I've got to incubate. I've got to circle. And his wisdom is going to keep me. I'm not going to run out of gas. Right. And my audience, here's the other thing. My audience isn't going to go somewhere because they're disinterested. I think sometimes there's that fear that if we don't keep moving, doing, providing new content.
Yeah.
But what if there's one piece of content that he just wants you to share and peel and share and peel and share and peel and have this one singular path that you're on? I don't know. What if?
Well, I absolutely agree with that. And I think that, we spend so much time concerned about in business, in life, like, how is my message coming across? Are they going to get what I'm saying? Am I going to be understood? But how many times have we been to an event and we're sitting side by side, not you and I physically, but in general, and the notes that I take are different than the notes that you take. Sure. And so suddenly we're sort of like having this, discussion afterwards. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even hear that piece. I didn't even catch that. And so we're just overthinking this piece where we're like, I just got to deliver it and keep moving because I got to keep people interested. And God's like, no. There's someone specific that's supposed to hear this. I need you to go deeper. I like the way you said it, like go deeper and peel it back and go deeper and peel it back. I think that is so important for us to take the time to do that. And I think we overlook that because we think I have to keep moving. I have to keep working.
Yeah.
I have to bring more value. Like I have to grow my audience or I have to make sure I'm appealing or whatever. And he's like, girl, I gave you the path. Just follow it.
Yeah.
And well, I'm on the path, Lord, but you're taking me this windy way. And I'm like A to B. And he's like, no. There's some stuff you need to see over here. Right.
I don't wanna. No,
I know.
but I do want to, but I don't.
Of course you do. Of course.
Want to. But it's really interesting too. If you sit for somebody like me who has that desire to get it done, 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 get it good, dun, dun, dun. I don't know. Anyway.
That's the Lone Ranger, right?
Oh, I'm very punchy today. Must be all the
all good.
snow we got.
Meanwhile, we got 0 snow in
Oh
Southern
my gosh,
Maryland.
we got like 10 inches.
We got like 1,000,000 inches of rain. That's quoting my sister. I have to give my sister a shout out. She posted that to my brother because my brother lives in Chambersburg, so they got a lot of snow. Obviously, he's like, yeah, we got like, I don't know how many inches. She's like, yeah, we got like 1,000,000 inches of rain.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
anyway, I wonder if I'm
so you're punchy because of the snow.
I am, but I wonder if I've ever run into your brother. Anyway, we'll circle back to that. We'll circle that mountain still another time. Yeah. But for somebody like me, who's the high D, who wants to get it done and sitting in that discomfort and allowing wisdom, discretion, and understanding to preserve me and keep me, as Proverbs promises, there's another thing that's keeping. There's another reason that discretion and understanding have to keep me, this type of person that I am, and it's not because of just impatience. It's because as you're sitting there, as you're incubating, you are becoming more aware and more vulnerable about things. And God is trying to use you and your story.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's stuff that's going to come out, and it's kind of like, are you willing to go there? And not even, are you willing to go there? Like, I'm totally willing to go there, but I don't really know how to go there. So that's why God is like, you're incubating right now. But like, for me, I have a very specific message about having a thriving thought world. And a lot of that revolves around the way we think about ourselves and what we believe about ourselves and things like that. And I've always thought that because a lot of our thought stuff is spiritual battles, right? Like the enemy, and a lot of that is spiritual battles. I think that the church in general doesn't pay enough attention to mental health or validate the experiences of people, their emotional and mental and relational experiences. That there's this myth, and it just, it doesn't make me angry. It makes me indignant, but that's not even the right word. I'll find it. But even like a lot of the Christian movies, they find Jesus and suddenly they never do anything wrong again.
Right.
Life is good.
Yeah.
I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore, or I wouldn't do that anymore. And I'm thinking, I know a lot of people who are after God's own heart, like King David that we've talked about.
Yep.
That do stupid stuff, and they still belong to the Lord. But then in the thought war, especially for women, I mentioned this before a couple of times, so I'm really glad we're doing this show, that if there's anybody who's afraid of scripture, that's the person that I want to speak to, because I have been that person my whole life.
Right.
And kind of incubating on these ideas of thriving thoughts and this war, and being able to choose your thoughts and being able to take control over what comes into your mind and speak truth over the lies. That's my message. Like, God has been like, stay there, stay there, stay there, stay there. And I'm like, are people getting tired of hearing speak truth over the lies so you can thrive in any and every circumstance? Do people get it? Like, don't they need more? Don't they need more examples? I feel like I'm saying the same thing till I'm blue in the face. But it's what it's done, that incubation is allowing me to peel back layers of vulnerability to the point where I am going to be sharing, like, it's just all of these beautiful truths for believers and non-believers alike.
Right.
That when our sin is visible, when the consequences of our sin are visible, curtain dropped completely. when the consequences of our sin are visible, we feel the most shame and the most, especially from the church.
That's powerful.
Especially and that ought not be.
Yeah.
That ought not be. You know that song, Truth Be Told?
Yeah.
I love what he says in that song. He's like, truth be told, he said something like, didn't you say churches were supposed to look more like hospitals and filled with the broken, not with the whole, filled with the sinners, not with the saints. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And that's one of the things that I think is just such a misconception. And it's not about, I'm going to choose to still live any way I want. It's recognizing that I am flesh and my flesh wins out sometimes. And that doesn't make me bad. And that doesn't make me unsaved. And that doesn't make me not loved. That doesn't make me abandoned. That doesn't make it not true that this must have never been true for me. And so I love the fact that we're doing this dive into scripture because it's making me confront various scriptures that have honestly left me fearful. I mean, there are parts of the Bible that I've avoided for years.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, I know for a long time, I would not, and I've really truly been a Christian for 4 years, 6. I avoided Revelations because I was like, I avoided Revelations and I avoided Job because I was like, oh no, I can't have all that. All that can't happen to me. Right. But I love what you said. I want to unpack a little bit what you said, like that we are still flesh and we do still choose the wrong path. And yet
we do.
Aren't forsaken and we're not unloved and we are forgiven. And, you know, and it's everyday stuff. It's everyday stuff that make a stupid decision.
Yeah.
You know, like eating a whole plate of beignets this morning from
I was going to ask
Bulrush's
you, like,
Cafe.
did you eat those lovely beignets?
I did.
Good for you.
I ate the whole stinking plate.
Good for you.
And I'm like, you know what? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm good because I don't but it's just other things that we do that are just like, we know whatever it is, maybe we know better, or maybe we just think, oh, it's fine. It's just one thing.
Yeah.
Even in the face of that, even in the face of all of the wisdom that he gives us, still we are loved. Still we are chosen.
Yeah.
Still we are accepted.
Yes. And used and treasured and pursued and not wasted. Like everything that we talked about this last time, like whatever the thorn is in your side or whatever the thing is that if there's something in your life, ask God to use it. If he's not taking it away, ask him to use it. But I feel a particular compassion because the biggest truth in scripture, beyond the fact that Jesus died for us and rose again, is that every single person has fallen short of the glory of God.
Everyone.
Okay. The difference that we make in society is if your fall is public, then the attention's off of me. Right. So my message is everybody is falling. It's just some are in public, everybody has fallen. That's what scripture says. Yes. Nobody's deserving of this grace. Right. But some people, it's public. Right. And some people, it's not.
Yeah.
So
100%. And I think, that whole idea of stop circling the mountain, and go do what I told you to do. Like, God knows that there are times that we're just not going to do it. And sometimes we feel like we just need to be hit over the head with it. And sometimes he'll do that, right? He'll move mountains to show us his will. But yet, in the face of all of it, he knows because of wisdom, and Proverbs tells us this, there will be consequences.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we're afraid to step out and do what he's asked us to do. It's like the incubating and the marinating, like, where's the fear in that that like kind of keeps you from doing it, but yet you know you got to push through and do it. And I think there's consequences. Just let me say this out loud and maybe it'll make sense.
Okay.
There's consequences in two ways. One is if I don't do what God called me to do, there's going to be some consequences, right? Maybe not painful, but but if I do what he tells me to do, there's also going to be consequences.
Always.
And I might not like those consequences because they just don't look the way I want them to look. Right. And I think the beauty of just the beauty of his love and his grace and his mercy that, but we take it upon ourselves to be the be the judges, right? To judge the public falls and the private falls.
And the private ones. Yeah.
And that's not our authority.
Right.
But man, we're really good at it.
Oh my goodness. We're so good at it. It's interesting. I did an interview with a woman who, for the first time, about something I was grieving, and something that I grieved for a long time in my adult life. But I never felt like I had permission to grieve because my grief was a result of my sin. And God has been showing me, just pulling that to the surface lately. And it's really, he's showing me how there's deeper places that I haven't healed from yet with that. And that's this, I spent years believing I wasn't allowed to grieve because my consequence was a result of sin. But
wow.
Yeah. And I know if that's the case for me, that I'm not alone there.
You are definitely not alone there.
And so I want to bring some truth to people that you're allowed. I love how you said consequences. It's not a bad word. It's just what happens after you do something.
This is.
That's it. It's just, It happens after you do something, right? There's a consequence, and it could be what you wanted, or it could be what you didn't want.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Yeah. And so either way, it's just if you could have a consequence if you follow what God says to do, and you can have a consequence if you don't follow what God says to do.
Right.
And so it's not, I guess my point is, like, you have permission in both scenarios to be uncomfortable with those consequences.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think you also have to ask yourself, are you afraid of the consequence that's God's, or are you afraid of the consequence that's man's? So in other words, are you afraid to follow through, not you, but the collective you? Are you afraid to follow through to what he's told you to do, the wisdom that he's given you, the path that he's laid out, because you're worried about what man will think, or the consequences of doing that, and the relationships that might fall to the wayside, or the people that won't follow you, or people who will unfollow you, or whatever that is. And are we putting more emphasis, we're giving more weight to what the consequences of man are? I don't know. I mean, I think that that's part of us being a fallen nature. It just is. And it's not the end of the world. I think that's the other thing is that we're going to do it, right? Now, should we try not to do it? Of course, but we're going to do it, and it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And
right.
But we can't take it for granted that he will forgive us.
No, no.
Right. So it's sort of like this fine line that we're walking. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But that's why, again, I just love that we're doing this. I love that we're diving into scripture, because just taking one verse at a time. And I mean, like, even going back to, like, wisdom crying out, and how we talked about
in the square. Yeah. Publicly.
And how we talked about when it's like, I'm going to mock you and I'm going to whatever, like how maybe once upon a time I was like, oh yeah, God's mocking me. He's like, yeah, you're stupid. You're not mine.
Right.
That's why I'm glad we're doing this, because if there's anybody out there who's really struggling with the truth, if you're hearing lies when you read scripture, you incubate. incubate, incubate. Maybe stay on that mountain a little bit longer. That's what
Mhm.
I would say.
Yeah.
Because God will show you
And keep reading it and keep reading it and keep reading it.
that his
Yeah, I
truth
just,
preserves you. It preserves you. It keeps you. It doesn't destroy you.
yes, yes. And I'm just looking. So Proverbs 2 goes to 22.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Let me go back and look at 1. Because I just want to tell everybody where we're going. Like, where
Yeah.
are we going? Where are we going next? So Proverbs 1, we finished up 1, 2 on December 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
So Proverbs 2, we'll finish Proverbs chapter 2 on Christmas Eve.
Will we?
Yeah, because it's 22 verses.
Oh, yeah. We will. So then we'll be into right after Christmas into chapter 3.
we'll be starting chapter 3. So Sherry and I are going to figure out if we are going to do live Christmas Day or, you know, maybe we'll do it the day after.
Yeah.
We're going to throw you all a little, you know, we're going to throw
We
you for a
might.
loop. It's always an adventure with the proverbial mastermind.
Right. Yes, it is.
Following Christ is an adventure. So yeah, so we'll probably do it that we'll let you know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll do it like Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but we'll be finishing out chapter 2 of Proverbs
Yeah.
and starting chapter 3 if you're following along. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
that's an awesome thing.
Thanks for organizing that.
I had to just organize it in my head because I'm a checklist. I don't know about anybody else, but I add things.
No,
my
you know
list
what? You
that
are.
I did.
You're a doer.
Oh, I'm a total doer, and that's my problem. It's
Right,
very
see?
it's hard for me to be.
And I'm an iterator, and that's my problem. But see, you put the two of us, proverbial masterminds, together, the
And we
thinker and the
mastermind.
doer, forget it.
Forget about
Unstoppable.
it. Totally. 100%.
Hang on,
Or
I
two
have
or more
something.
together.
I have something I was going to share with you real quick before we sign off.
Okay, do it.
So chapter 2 is talking about in general, a lot of it is talking about, okay, after there's this storehouse of wisdom available to you, you are going to be able to recognize all the good paths. You're also going to be able to recognize the people who aren't pursuing those good paths and who you shouldn't partner with. You're going to be able to recognize the bad paths. You're going to be able to recognize the man who speaks perverse things, the people who leave the paths of uprightness, the people who rejoice in doing evil, the people who delight in the perversity of the wicked, the people whose ways are crooked and who are devious in their paths. And that struck me. So do you know what the number one like marketing strategy is in business?
Well, I think it's fear of missing out, but go ahead.
Yeah. So it's called, well, the acronym is FUD.
FOMO. Fear. Go
Fear,
ahead.
uncertainty, and doubt.
Huh.
And that's taught.
Yeah.
In school, in college. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And we even talk about that in a kind of a nicer way, like let's hit the pain points, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said for this is who this is for. We need to make sure that people know
Exactly.
who this is.
And this is how we're serving, right?
Right. But the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, like that to me, that really struck me. I don't know why when I read that, when it said, and whose paths are devious, that to me is devious.
Yeah.
To try to get somebody to pay attention to what you're saying by creating fear, uncertainty, or doubt.
Yeah.
So it was just a thought that I had about the verse for today.
So be wise and and get your wisdom from the source.
Yeah. And let discretion keep you.
Love it.
All right.
I love it.
Fellow proverbial mastermind, I love you.
All right. We'll let you guys know what we're doing next week.